Hello, my name is Levi Smith, and this is my drawing video titled Drawing in the Dark, as you can see on the top of the screen. This is the first episode of this video series, which is kind of connected to my Twitch stream that I'm going to be working on. Let's see, we're just going to move on to there. Basically what this whole thing is about, what I'm doing here, is just doing some live drawing. Today it's just going to be a simple, just a skull. Just to kind of kick things off. I want to see how long drawing something like this takes. One of my plans is I am a tattoo artist, cartoonist, working on a webcomic. Got a couple of graphic novel ideas in me, and it's that little mop and bucket logo there. That is my publishing company with a good friend of mine, where we are working on print and digital publishing of, well, at least right now, just my work. We've got a little activity book thing I've been working on for about a year and a half, 2 years now. We've also got a couple of other things. I did a daily sketch thing a number of years ago, and that little freckle, that was a blip on my screen. It was. Anyway, doing this daily sketch thing a while back, and I collected the first year of daily sketches that I did, almost an entire year, into a book, a little art book. We're going to be re-releasing that. We've got a few other plans, and so this is one of the things, as part of it all, is doing some videos, getting more used to doing these. I'm going to be doing some for the Mop and Bucket Patreon page. That'll be exclusives. I'll be working on little random bits here like this, and a Twitch channel, and where I'll be doing some live streaming and stuff, which you wouldn't necessarily have to be a patron to check out all that stuff. We'll see how all that develops over time. Wow, these teeth are really getting a little carried away, aren't they? So speaking of this drawing, this, I guess, is just kind of how I generally construct things. Real loose, scratchy and sketchy. You'll notice I'm not using the undo button much, especially in this point. Also, being a tattoo artist and stuff, I don't know. It definitely teaches you to not rely on an eraser. This kind of freeform sketching as well will also kind of do that. But a lot of this is just playing around with, nothing's committed here. I'm just kind of working out a shape. Just doing this basic skull guy here. One of the things that I do is, as far as drawing and stuff, and as far as like getting in the mode, keeping the juices flowing sort of thing, accessing the muses, as it were, a lot of that you can't really, you're a professional, if you're aspiring to be a professional, you really can't wait for the mood to hit you. You got to do this all the time. You got to draw as often as you can, or produce, if you're painting or designing or whatever, And so what I normally do to kind of kick things off still, and the daily sketch thing really helped me with that, is starting off something basic and simple. It's called a confidence drawing. Just, piece of computer paper, start playing around with just some sketches. Draw stuff that you're already familiar with, though. Draw stuff that you're pretty much gonna end up under some control. It's not the time to challenge yourself. Not the time to prove anything. You're just warming up. You're just getting it going. So do something that you're familiar with. Do something that's easy. For me, that was always skulls. I just grew up drawing skulls all the time, and and so they are almost an automatic kind of thing. Granted, a lot of what I learned about drawing skulls came from reading Ghost Rider comics. And so my skulls aren't totally 100% anatomic. I try to give expression. I try to have some kind of interesting aspects to them, So, so we're going to take that sketch, we're going to drop it down in opacity, we're going to make another layer. Seems like these eyes are a little far apart. So I'm going to come in here. I'm back on this sketch layer, and I'm just going to take this eye and scooch it over. Just a touch. Now I'm going to take this eye, scooch it over just a touch. Gives us a little bit more room on those temple areas. And that looks better. So, I'm just gonna jump into this, into the ink. Seems like it's good. Now, as you can see, I'm using Clip Studio Paint for this. It's a really nice drawing program, especially if you're working off of a tablet. I'm really enjoying it. I think I may have mentioned before, I don't know, that I am working off of a Microsoft Surface Pro 6. It's not bad. I have played around with Procreate for a few minutes on a friend's machine, and it was nice. But never really been much of a Mac person. So we got this. One of the things I'm trying to keep in mind here, this skull is a bit of a light source. That even just with lines kind of tells you where the thicker parts of those lines can go. You can do quite a bit with just the line work like this, So there's a little undo. So Inktober's coming up. Everybody's ramping up for that. Along with that comes an interesting little debate about traditional versus digital. And, I've done a lot of work in traditional. I've done a lot of inking, done brush inking, pen inking, repeated graphs, microns, different Koh-i-Noor pens, some Japanese style stuff, but the thing is that I've almost always, my whole career, needed to digitize, scan my work in order to do things with it that were marketable and valuable, and that led to a career. So I remember 20 years ago drooling over Wacom tablets and eventually getting a pretty decent one, and then just always just really just looking forward to and patiently waiting for the ability to just draw straight onto the screen into something like Photoshop or into, now it's Clip Studio, and yeah, I love it. It's totally different though from traditional. Clearly, it's cleaner. The setup and breakdown, you gotta clean those brushes, you gotta clean those nibs, you gotta clean those repeated graphs. Man, so what happened to my repeated graphs is I did not clean them properly, and so a good $120 worth of inking pens got ruined. My fault. Not really, I guess, taking those seriously, and I'd used microns before that, so I didn't understand how seriously those things needed to be cleaned. So it was back to microns. I'm pulling out the brushes and all that stuff and making sure that everything was set up. And sometimes I would only actually get an hour, 20 minutes to sit down and work on something, because the job, because life, for a good long time, the only real art time I could get was like at 3 o'clock in the morning. Now I'm tattooing. I've been tattooing for 15 years. So it's a thing where I definitely get a lot more time to work on my art and to develop that stuff. Let's see where we're going here. I'm putting a little weird with those eyes. Let's move on down to these teeth. Down to here. One of the things too is, so this is more of like an expanded kind of warm-up piece. Before inking, say like something that's going up, my webcomic, typically right now, I'll fiddle around with a little, a small piece, something I'm already kind of working on, some junk file, just some random sketches in it, I do like to doodle randomly, and just ink some of that, get warmed up, get the hand used to this particular task, kind of like working out, doing some stretches. This is kind of the same thing, this piece here. This is more just like a warm-up piece, This isn't really something that I'm going to do anything with. It'll end up going into a junk file, junk folder. Especially, it's not particularly like, holy cow, what a badass skull. It's the straight on, no 3/4 angle, particular serious emotion. One of the things, though, a little bit of fun with, all the underlines ought to always be heavier. Oh, the hatching, I'll just hatch the shit out of this and it'll look great. I'll erase that spot. Alright, how about this dome? So, the middle line, I tend to draw too much dome. Especially when I'm sketching things out there. We got a lot of dome up here. So I always look out for that. Try to bring it down. One of the things, I'm trying to measure it from is, if you take the center line, I'll just do an odd layer here. If you take this center line, like right through the bridge, through these points here, and then to here, then this should be the same. This are equal. Yeah, so that's one of the things to understand with that. And that's one of the things that I typically have to check, because I just tend to draw a little extra dome on these guys. Same thing with heads. This is a head. Just doesn't have any of the window dressing. Yeah, so we're gonna do. And there seems to be enough weirdness going on right here. Just to have some fun here. This is probably a thing that you would add in penciling. That way the inking can consider what the hell's going on. I'm just gonna sneak this in here. Since our light, for the purposes of lighting, if anyone's not savvy there, make a new layer. This is not a good tool for this. Okay. So we've got our sun. All this lighting coming from here means that these areas are our highlight, and then these areas are shadows, especially, actually be more because that flattens out there. It comes off here and here. And we get a bit more light from here, from things that bounce off, light that reflects. And so that's really generalized. Just a little thing about how this this lighting, at least in my mind, is functioning. So that tells me through here. We'll zoom in. Come on, zoom in. There you go. Yeah, this tablet is limited in its resources abilities. Trying to stream with it has been a trick. So it is something as these videos go. I start to lose resources, and then Clip Studio slows down, and then this gets harder to work on. These delays, the lag, really. I'm just gonna add this in like that. How about if we bring this down to some ridiculous sharp point here? Yes. Okay, we're gonna just these things here. I like to hum to myself when I draw, especially when there's no music. Wow, that did not. Crazy lines there. Wow, okay. Oh, I can feel the machine heating up. I gotta move a little bit slower here. This bad boy is just getting tired now. We might not make it all the way through this little skull sketch. Just gonna tell me a lot about what I can manage video wise. One of the things is I should probably, this is like an 8.5 by 11 canvas, which clearly I'm not even fully utilizing. So that's a thing. I may just drop the size of this canvas, especially in the next video. And you really hear my desk, can't you? My classic high school desk. These things are great. Just, you know, with a little rack underneath, a tiny little work table connected to the chair. I really like it. I mean, I haven't been in high school in 25 years. I love the desk. Brings me back. Of course, I'm not tagging this thing up, scratching it up and stuff. Like back in the day. I had a class in high school. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but man, there was just one desk in the back that was just wrecked. All kinds of crazy stuff scratched into it, drawn into it, just everything. I mean, it was a free for all. That was fun. I mean, because it was already tore up. How could you not add to it? You know. I remember it not being a big deal, like adding to it, as long as it wasn't like crazy gang-related stuff. Yeah, that's kind of what it was back in the mid-90s, you know. But yeah, it was a cool desk. It was fun. I don't know, I've always liked these desks. Kind of comfy. They're easy to work at, you know. I can set my tablet up here. I got a little bit of room. Things are kind of localized and focused, you know. And so, it just works out. So, yeah. I'll little story about the love of my desk. We're just gonna put in some random weird lines and divots because skulls can handle that. You can just stick piles and piles of random lines. You know, it's fun. You know, nice way to, you know, overwork things a little bit. I mean, I guess you can do this to death. I mean, I mentioned that my high school days were in the 90s, so I do have an affinity for 90s comics, although I'm quite aware of their flaws. I love them anyway. You know. Oh dear. My hand decided to shift the canvas. Just kind of working right on the edge there. Let's see. That junky little part of the inking on this guy's dome. Zoom out, man. Come on. Doesn't want to zoom out. That's a miss. Man, this is mad lag. It's just no. Suddenly does nothing. It wants to do nothing. Alright, so I'm gonna come in here and thicken all this up. Now, oh, these gaps just look like a mistake. Just do kind of like this. Let me slide it. Slide. Yeah, this disc is creaky though, isn't it? Oh yeah, let's see. Not enough random lines on the mandible. Okay. I guess they're not entirely random. This lag is kind of jacking some of these up, but we're gonna live with it. Learn to live with it. That's just about everything in this world. You know, to some point, you just gotta learn to live with it. Anger and hate might cause a lot of damage out there in the world, but most of the damage, well, damages its bearer. It certainly does. What's that saying? Hating someone is like drinking poison, hoping that the other one dies. It's terrible. So yeah, little Scully Skull. I am going to, let's see, we'll bring up one more layer here. We're going to go into this brush. We're going to go, I have played around with a couple of these brushes, made some variations of my own. How's that working out for us, buddy? Yeah, oh, there we go. Why don't we make that a bit bigger? Ooh, that lag. That lag. So I'm going to do this. This. Drop this in here. Do a little quick erasing here. Let's not obsess about it. Back to that brush. Oh, it's still too small for this. slow down. Cannot handle some of my more natural, quick movements. One of the things over the years is you learn to try to quicken things up. And mostly, so I had a guy tell me first you get good, then you get fast. And then you get good and fast. Part of that, if you're not catching it there, is that when you first start getting fast, you kind of start sacrificing good. And then you start learning how to work the good back into the fast. You know, different stages, you know. You might know what you're doing, but you might be trying to move a status recovery. You might be trying to figure out how to do it faster, more efficient, spend less time, learn a few shortcuts on the way. Oh my goodness. See, this lag, this blobbiness doesn't want to slide down. Not even really going to try to rotate or zoom right now, because it does not want to do that. It is lagging. Really pushing the edges here. But I do want to see how far I can push this. I mean, I'm not going to like try to crash the system here with this, but might in the process of trying to finish this skull. So anyway, there's a bit of an endurance match. Oh, I wonder if you hear the crunchy leaves. The location I'm recording this is in my studio space. Not that far from the front door, so it's definitely possible to hear some vehicles, hear some people walking around outside, and the crunchy dead leaves all over the ground. Thankfully, and especially at this time of day, I don't know, it's like more like noon or so. There's some motorcycle action that that'll really overwhelm things. Let's see, put this back at 60. Try not to be as dark as before. Excuse me. This medium here, about that. It'll blend out. Maybe later. It's picking up. One of the things I do like with this brush is it gets kind of painterish. Where I can pick up what's already there. And as you see, that's where my shading starts to not look quite so janky. We're just gonna kind of truck along. As you see, I am not being super meticulous about this. I'm just kind of cruising, putting together this comic book skull. Yeah, I'm sure there's definitely a obvious Ghost Rider-ish kind of influence to this guy. That tends to happen a lot with my skulls. Studied a lot of Ghost Rider skulls. Read a lot of Ghost Rider comics. Not nearly as many as Spider-Man and X-Men comics, but a lot of Ghost Rider. And, yeah, so we're gonna do all this. Oh! There's a motorcycle. We'll find out if we heard that. A lot of motorcycles through this area. A couple bike clubs. They're louder than I am. That's for sure. Not quite in the little junkie. Not quite in the phase of the loud, boisterous, "Hey everybody!" At least not yet. We'll see. Things kind of evolve, you know. Everybody evolves. Start doing shows like this. Get to that point where you're like Joe Rogan or Mark Maron or any of these other folks. Starts to become more natural, more common. Start getting that flavor and that feel. People learn to, you know, not just, you know, because eventually you get used to it, and then you become really comfortable in it, with it, and then it's like you need it. And if anything changes about it, it's unacceptable. You know, like changing a character halfway through a TV show or some weird costume designs or art changes, you know, like change an artist in a story for whatever reason. You know, some new person's working on X-Men. It's like, oh man, I hate this. Alright, whatever. After a while, you don't realize you get to like it. Then they change the artist again. You're like, wait a minute, I like that old guy. I like that other guy. You know, kind of like how people didn't like Michael Keaton as a choice for Batman back in the day. Now, you know, just kind of want him back. I would like to see him play an old Bruce Wayne in a Batman Beyond live action. Oh, that'd be cool. That would be cool. Well, that's something I'm sure I never would have been able to predict 10, 15 years ago. Oh, and if you haven't seen Birdman, I mean, it's not like a new movie or anything, but man, that's some good stuff. That's a good movie. Really appreciated that movie. Alright, I think I'm just going crazy here. Some of the shading is kind of obscured what's going on there, so you go from normal to multiply. Bam, all our black lines are black again. Not really worrying about it. Let's zoom out a little bit, huh? Can we zoom out a little bit? Can we zoom out a little bit? No? Zoom out. Turn off that pencil. Oh, look at that. It's a skull. Yeah, so, I suppose that is going to be the extent of what we're doing today with this. I'm really curious on how long this took. Let's see. So, going to play around with our boxes. We're going to do this. Yeah, perfect. So, yeah, check out more of my stuff on Facebook with the Mop and Bucket Press. Looks like there's a typo on that little part there for my personal page. I don't know the actual address for my YouTube page, but you might already be right there right now watching this. I'm going to fix this little box, of course. Levi Smith Art on the Twitch, Levi Smith Art on the Instagram, Sequential Disorder for my webcomic, and check us out on Patreon. Mop and Bucket Press, you know. And, yeah, there's our skull. We did the thing. Looks like this tablet held up at least for that. So, excellent. And we're done. Thanks for checking me out.